Hey, here we go. I think we're up and running. Let's pull this sucker up. And so we look at the review sheet. Add the request to Bobby. I probably wasn't planning on doing it. Then Bobby says, oh man, we got to have a review sheet. All right, review video. All right, so let's see what we can do. All right, so the first thing we're looking at is caucus and primaries. It's the nomination process. The nomination process, and let's get this thing bigger. I need to do that, don't I? All right, there we go. So then we can kind of see the video, kind of show the words. All right, the caucuses and primaries are the way we nominate. And so you look at the the caucus. That's when people get in the sections of a room with their the supporters of a different candidates get in their different sections of a room. A lot of times with a gym. We did that when we went downstairs and kind of talked about our political philosophers. And then a primary is just you go and you vote. Just like you vote, in the general election, there's there's screens and you touch the box next to their name. So that's the primary. So what do we look at? Oop, there's nothing there. Do we have anything? All right, I don't like that. Okay, what do I have? So there you go. About 2/3 of them use primaries. They're just regular old party elections. All right, so primaries can be open. Anybody can vote, or closed where only party members can vote. But if you look back at the review sheet there, so there's open and closed primaries. Anybody can vote in an open primary. Georgia has an open primary system. Only party members can vote in a closed primary. But the folks who vote in the caucuses and the primaries are the true believers. Some people might call them the amateurs. What was Fiorina called them, the amateurs? Folks are really fired up, and these folks tend to be way over on the left and way over on the right. So the effect of this is it pulls the candidates to the left and to the right. And you kind of saw that with the Kemp video. The Kemp video in the primary is much more hardcore Republican ad than the more moderate general election ad. The advantages of an open primary is that, of course, anybody can vote. Independents can vote. The advantage of a closed primary is that you don't have rating. I think I mentioned I rate almost every time. I'm always trying to get the more moderate candidate from the other party. And so if you want a true party election, that's a closed primary. Okay, superdelegates. Superdelegates are something that were added by the Democrats, where when during nomination season, elected officials get extra votes, and so it's kind of to offset the effect of the primaries. So maybe you get a little more mainstream candidate, a little more centrist candidate. All right, PR versus winner take all primary. Don't worry about that. I don't think I covered that. Iowa is the first caucus. New Hampshire is the first primary. Okay, so that's the caucus and the primaries. All right, so then we go down and we define stuff. All right, so you got to get through media stuff. We'll have to figure out how to do media stuff. Here we go. All right, so there's the definition of political party. It's this office-seeking group. They're trying to get power through winning elections, and so it's a good thing because it's democratic. They're not shooting their way in there, but they do want power. So you got those two quotes. So Jefferson says he'd rather go to hell than join a party. Schneider says you can't have a functioning democracy without political parties. And Schneider's right. Of course, we know when Jefferson's living. Schneider's writing in the 1950s, really. All right, so we go back over here to the review sheet. So the number one goal is to win elections. The effect of that goal is that, they'll kind of lie to you. They'll give up on other goals in the name of winning the elections. All right, so then you got the roles of the party And so remember, it spells out worm with 3 R's. All right, let's see. Where is that? That can be down here after the Electoral College. There you go. So number 1's to win. Number 2 is unifying, bring together very different groups of people. You got real different folks voting for the Democrats, real different folks voting for the Republicans. All right, so then you go RRR, right? Run the government. Pretty much everybody that's working in the executive branch for Trump is a Republican. Also in Congress, as of today, when we're taking the test, it may be different, it may not be different. But in Congress, every committee chair in the House and the Senate is a Republican. All right, let's see. Raise money for competitive elections, recruit qualified candidates. All right, and then your M is to mobilize supporters. All right, so there's to get folks fired up. So Trump done a good job mobilizing supporters at the bowling alley we talked about. The Oprah effect. I had interesting conversation of Oprah coming to Georgia to try to mobilize supporters. She was making the argument that you've got to honor your ancestors by turning out and voting. So that's mobilizing supporters. So that's kind of what the parties do. All right. Let's see what we got. Let's go back to the review sheet. All right. So then you're talking. Then the next thing I've got the convention. So we go back. Up, and there's the convention. So the election day is today, Tuesday after the first Monday in November. All right, we looked at why that was. Doesn't need to be harvest season. Doesn't need to be Monday. Doesn't need. Can't be weekends for religious reasons. All kinds of reasons for that. Our method of selecting the president is called the Electoral College. Each state gets a number of representatives. So in this one, right now, Georgia has 14 representatives, 2 senators. So the updated Electoral College map would have Georgia with 16 electoral votes. So you add all that, 435 plus the 100 senators plus the 3 votes for Washington, D.C., it makes 538 electoral votes. A majority of that is 270. You need 270 to win. All right. There's folks who lost the popular vote or won the popular vote, lost the Electoral College. I had Hillary Clinton on there. 2018. Hillary Clinton. Okay, let's go back up to the review sheet, see how we're doing. All right, we work our way down. All right, there's the winners who lost. 5 winners who lost now. Okay, so why don't we get rid of the Electoral College? Because you got to have a constitutional amendment. And we remember that constitutional amendments are not impossible, but in this case, probably impossible. Because, you have this popular winner who is losing in an evenly divided electorate, but to amend the Constitution, you got to have 2/3 of both houses of Congress, 3/4 state legislatures. That means everybody's kind of in favor of the amendment. Everybody wouldn't be in favor. You'd always have one side kind of in favor of it, one side against it. All right, you do have this advantage that creates the mandate because the electoral margin is almost always bigger than the popular margin. And so no matter how divided things are, the winner can say, hey, well, the people have spoken, and so, Congress needs to kind of go along with me for a while. All right, let's go to the review sheet right here. I don't like that. Go down the bottom, let's see what we got. All right, so then we've got realignment here. So a shift in who people support is the realignment. So the advantage gives people a mandate. All right, elections marking realignment are called critical elections or realigning elections. All right, and then you've got the 4 characteristics, and I never could decide what that best acronym was, Rice or Rick or something like that. All right, but going down here, so the 4 characteristics is the realigning election. So it's the election there. You got a new issue. So, maybe immigration, this last time around, the working class The stronger party's making a change. So Trump's party's not really the Bush, and it's kind of this nationalist party that Trump has. And then the change's got to last. It's got to be the kind of change that's built to last. And so Roosevelt in 32 is kind of exhibit A for it. So parties are changing. You got a new party winning. They're doing something new, the New Deal, and then it lasts for that next generation. Okay, so then you've got the critical election. So 1800 is the first one, Jefferson and the Republicans. Oh, man, that Federalists end up being the anti-war of 1812 party. All right, 1828's Jackson and the Democrats. The Whigs come along. They win a couple of presidential elections, so it's not completely dominated by the Democrats, but the Democrats are the dominant party, the Jacksonian era. All right, then you got the Republicans over slavery from 60 to really 96. And the Republican Party is the only third party to ever be successful. Then 96 is an interesting one because you got the same party, but now for a different reason, for these laissez-faire business kind of reasons, as opposed to the slavery issue, and the losers, kind of the farmers. So it's big business winning out over the farmers this time. All right, and 32 is Exhibit A on that, and so there's that New Deal coalition with Roosevelt. And if the Democrats ever have all these folks on their side, they're going to win. But, they don't have the farmers. They don't have the South. They tend to not have the working class at this very moment. As we said, maybe the results today would be different. I really have no idea what I think is going to happen. So we'll know tomorrow when we're taking the test. Okay. Hey, by the way, y'all did really good. Really good. I really enjoyed that. That's I'm going to say that's the best that's gone. The fact that the bowling slowed down, after we got to the fifth frame, and I had to remind people to go roll because they were talking, about the stuff. Y'all really did a nice job with that. Very, very good. Okay, so then my lifetime, I was born in 68, so my lifetime is divided into two periods that don't fit the theory. So first you had de-alignment, where the Democrats lose the South over first, civil rights, and then the cultural issues, abortion and so forth. And with that de-alignment, you had more people calling themselves independents, more people splitting tickets, voting for Democrats for one office, Republican for another. All right, since the Clinton-Bush years, Clinton impeachment, Bush and Iraq, we've kind of taken on this even division, evenly divided. We may not feel like that's true come tomorrow. I don't know. And so the parties have kind of made a comeback. There's still a lot of independents. I just read an article about the number of independents. But, a lot of folks are once again hardcore Democrats or Republicans. And you kind of witness that turnout. I just bet that we've got record turnout for a midterm. I wouldn't be surprised if we had 70% turnout for the midterm. So that, it's a different era from that era of de-alignment. Okay, and so it's just a little bit of a lean to the Republicans in recent years. We'll see. It could be the Democrats are not feeling happy tomorrow. I just can't tell. All right, let's go back over to the review sheet, see what we got. Okay. Okay, so then the right-hand side is like the two-party system. So we come over here, and here we go. So the two-party system, we're the exception. Most folks have a multi-party system. All right, and so there's four reasons. The top reason is this plurality. What the little video call it? First past the post. Single-member district. So if you're not happy with your representative, you got to get one person who can beat him. Because if you get two or three people that don't like him, they're going to split that vote up. So that's the number one reason. All right, European countries have the proportional representation, which encourages, third parties, more than two parties. Okay, the other reasons we've always done it that way, tradition. It's hard to get the name of somebody's name on a ballot. The Democrats and Republicans kind of work together on that. When we have this moderate political culture, generally speaking, we haven't been way out on the left or on the right. Okay, so the effect is that traditionally we compete for the center. I like that picture. These two guys do have so much more in common, I think, than folks originally believed. Okay, in the multi-party systems, they're more ideological, but then if they win an election, they got to form a coalition with some other party. All right, we've already kind of said that. Okay, so then we talk about the third party. So let's go, significance of third parties in America. All right, Republicans are the only successful third party. So what usually happens is, hey, they sting, then they die. So they bring up a new issue. One of the parties has to take up that new issue, and then the third party dies. All right, then I gave you 3 types of third parties. The single issue party, the splinter party, and the ideological party. All right, single issue, one particular issue. Splinter party or factional party, they're breaking off. And so the Dixiecrats broke off from the Democrats. The Progressive Party broke off from the Republicans in the Roosevelt-Taft years. And then ideological parties that are way over on the left or the right. Okay, what's good and bad about third parties? They're not scared. They'll bring up issues that the two parties are scared to bring up. They play the role of spoilers, so they tend to hurt the major party that's on their side. So businessman Perot hurt Bush in 92, and consumer advocate Nader hurt Gore in 2000. Okay, let's go over here, see what we got. So then you're looking at let's see what we got right here. Okay, so then you're looking at this question of whether or not, once upon a time, people were saying, hey, the parties are too weak. Now, they're not really saying that anymore. All right, in certain ways. Okay, so go back over here. So first, so this is stuff, this little bonus coverage. I put it back there on the board, so here's the PowerPoint slides that would have gone with that had I had more time, felt like I had more time. So the party organization, that's the folks that are working for the political parties. On the national level, there's the DNC and the RNC. The heyday of the party organization are those party boss days. So, I mean, there's, this changes just all the time. So the identity of these people are not the same anymore, but there's a DNC chairman and RNC chairman. All right. Okay, so then next. But, I mean, the party organization, the big thing they do is raise money, and they're really good at raising money. All right, so it's hard to make the case they're in a state of decline. So then the party in government, they're active in Congress, and we said, hey, the unity scores are really, really high. So, I mean, they vote together, all right? And there's reasons for that. Gerrymandering is something that, I'm going to cover next semester. But party line voting is really increasing. Okay, let's see. Then the party and electorate, that's the voters. So once upon a time, we said, hey, the rise of independence means the party and the electorate is getting weaker, but, they're kind of making a comeback. And now let's look at this. This is a good thing that, I shouldn't have skipped over. I've gotten in a hurry because we've spent so much time with political philosophers. All right, but party ID is still the strongest predictor of voting. So at some point I said that. So the number one predictor of your party is your parents. Number one predictor of your vote is your party. And even among independents, so this notion of independence is kind of overblown because even among independents tend to lean one way or another. So a lot of times you have people thinking of themselves as independents and always vote for the same party. All right, let's see. And we did mention that on the presidential level, you had the candidate-centered campaign. Obama's campaign was about Obama, and Trump's campaign was about Trump. And a lot of times we have these folks that are called hired guns, and so their job is to get support for the candidate as opposed to the political party. So the party's role in the election has been diminished some. So there's a way in which maybe the party organization is not quite as influential over the election process as it once was. And, Trump kind of got the nominations in spite of the party organization. All right. So there's that. There's another way of describing that independent phenomenon. All right, we're through with that. Okay, so let's see what we got. All right, so we have what? If we go right here. So, we read about that. So retrospective voting is voting based on how things are going. Is the economy in good shape? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Versus prospective voting, that's going to be based on the ideology of the candidate. All right, midterms, we just had some midterms, so the turnout usually is lower, and the president's party usually takes a hit. This question of whether it's local issues, so sometimes elections turn on national issues, sometimes it's local stuff. So is somebody voting for Kemp or Abrams because of Kemp or Abrams, or are they voting for Kemp or Abrams because of Trump? So it's kind of complicated there. All right, coattail effects during a presidential year. Whoever wins the presidential election has coattails. So the president's party does well in presidential years. All right, let's see. The stronger parties are, the higher turnout tends to be. The weaker parties are, the lower turnout tends to be. You have off-year elections in order to avoid an effect of being influenced by the presidential election sometimes. All right. Let's see if I can work our way up. Well, they got fixed terms. All right. So in other words, senator has a 6-year term. Representatives have 2-year terms. The elections for senators are staggered in the sense that 1/3 of senators are up for re-election every 2 years. All right. The 22nd Amendment, we know, put a two-term limit on the president, but the Supreme Court has ruled that term limits for Congress are unconstitutional. So they stay on there as long as they can keep getting reelected. And then we talked about mudslinging last time, and so we said that mudslinging works. So if it's a close election, you might want to say something nasty about your opponent if you really, really, really want to win. So it's kind of a Machiavellian move because it makes people cynical. It drives down turnout, but it drives down turnout for your opponent more than overall turnout. All right, and then the roles of the president. So the unofficial ones, the chief of state, and let's go over here somewhere. We will see let's go down, 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 down. I think we get to the president. So let's see. First off, we have mudslinging. So there's a thing about mudslinging. So there's the deal. Remember that? I said McCain was willing to run a negative ad about this hippie friend of Obama's, but he wouldn't run the ad about the preacher. So, he was only willing to go so far. All right. Ooh. Did we do some polling stuff? Look at that. I think we did. I believe that we did. So polls. All right, so polls, even though I didn't put it on the review sheet, remember you got to have 1,000 people. So Literary Digest messed up, right? And they messed up because, was that on the last test? I just can't remember. I'm an idiot. But, they picked rich people. They sampled rich people. So today, everybody's got to have a random sample. Everybody's got to have, at least 1,000 people got a chance to be asked. Have to be asked for it to be seen as a scientific poll. And the margin of error is about 3 points. All right. In-person interviews are not as good as telephone interviews. And we said, hey, we don't trust the government as much as we used to. Okay, we define push polls. You know, they're unscientific polls, and they're trying to sway somebody rather than get information. And so they ask a whole lot more than 1,000 people. They ask as many people as they can. And then you've got tracking polls. So that's the polls we've been looking at on a daily basis. Pollsters will be asking people questions when they leave the polls today. Hey, what was your number one issue? So if the number one issue that voters say is immigration, well, probably that's good for the Republicans. And if the number one issue is, I don't know, less divisiveness or something like that, health care, maybe that's good for the Democrats. So there's the problem with polls, the margin of error. Doesn't really measure intensity. All right. And there you have the difference between, delegate and a trustee. All right. Nothing. We hadn't done that. President. Nope. So there they are. All right. So you go over here. So here's the picture. So there's like the before and after. Bush and Bush, Clinton and Clinton. So he's got a lot to do, and the aging process is doubling. So there he is throwing out that curveball. Representative. So chief of state is the ceremonial thing. Representative of the nation is kind of setting the example, although sometimes people say chief of state with that too. So Reagan was good at it. Clinton's wasn't good at it. Wasn't a good moral example. Trump's certainly not a good moral example. There she is. There's Obama. I mean, Obama was a good representative of the nation in a lot of ways. A lot of ways that's a great picture. I think. Okay, party chief. Reagan and Roosevelt pretty good. Clinton and Bush. I mean, Obama was really bad at that. So he's a really good representative of the nation. We might make him he's the best of us in so many ways. A great family man, and he represents that we can overcome our past. So a great representative of the nation. Terrible party chief. The Democratic Party took such a hit under Obama. All right, and then commander in chief. That really hurt Bush. He made a mistake about Iraq. Chief diplomat, all right, so we've got, negotiating with leaders of other countries. Chief legislator, hard to say about Trump, right? Just can't tell. You might, if you call him chief economist, well, he gets the good marks. All right, Johnson and Roosevelt, Obama and healthcare is going to be interesting. Now, look at this one. I forgot it. Can you believe I forgot chief executive, that the president was chief executive. So they carry out the laws. So that one really did end Bush, too. We had policies in place. We had FEMA, and then FEMA didn't do well with Hurricane Katrina. Eisenhower is enforcing the law at Little Rock. All right. So that's being chief executive. DACA is an executive order, and Trump going back on DACA. That's the guys acting as chief executive. All right. Let's see what we have. Yep, there it is. Looks like about 30 minutes. It's a pretty good time. All right, let's see. So what do I hit? I never can. I think it's this.